We got a lot of tools laid out here. They're all hand tools. Jack, why don't you start by talking to me about the vise and how you see a vise working?
Well, a vise is an important item of equipment. You need a vise to hold the gun, to strip it, to do any work upon it. You've got to regard a vise as a third hand, really. And you really need a vise that's got around 4.5 to 5 inches yaw width. You don't want a little narrow vise. This is about right, this width.
We've got some support mounted here, and I know you like one on either side.
That's right. We're going to say you normally have one either side. It's called a horse.
A horse?
Yeah, to rest your barrels on or rest the end of the stock on.
Jack, you normally use lead vise jaws here, it looks like. These are some wooden ones that we've taken out. That gives you a lot of cushion and a lot of grip, I guess, on a receiver.
You can hold the action of a box lock gun or a side lock gun in the vise with the protection of the lead jaws, and it doesn't mark the action or metal work. Those are cast.
Okay, and when you just beat them to death, you just cast some new
when
ones.
they get really chewed up, and when you're working with them and they get chewed up pretty badly, you can always put them in the vise, tighten the vise up, and with the use of a hammer them back into shape as needed. And you can also hammer them at the back here so they hold on the top better.
Well, Jack, the vise is absolutely the center of everything on the workbench and the horses that you've got. Of the hand tools that we got a good solid bench here too.
That's right.
Of the hand tools, then, what is the absolute most important of the hand tools?
Well, the most important are your turn screws, or what you call screwdrivers.
Screwdrivers, and the British term in the gun trade is turn screws. Okay, well, I guess you use them to turn screws, so
that's right,
that would make sense.
It's an ancient term.
You've got quite a collection of them here. How many screwdrivers, how many turn screws does a gunsmith need?
That's a tough one to answer. It's really to cover the amount of screws or pins, as we call them, in the gun.
Now, these are all what we'd call a flat ground or hollow ground, so that the sides are parallel as they would go into the slot of the screw.
Correct.
Yes, and you've done these all by hand with nothing but a file.
You can file the shape into these with a smooth file. And the idea is not to get too much of a curvature below the point, otherwise they'll just break off. It's to and make them fit the pins.
Make them fit the pins.
They must fit the pins. They must fit the slot. It's no good trying to take a pin out with one that's half the width of the pin or something like that. Make them fit the pin. There's nothing looks worse than a pin with a slot that's been all strained and out of shape, and in other words, boogered screws or pins.
We'll have some of those we'll look at here in a little bit. I guess this is a good time to talk about files, because when you're making all of your turn screws, your screwdrivers with files, you've got a lot of files here, Jack. What do you need all these files for? It looks to me like a man ought to be able to get by with 2 or 3.
You never can have enough files. I mean, in a lot of cases, the quickest way to remove metal is to grab a file, a good bastard cut file, and start hacking. Because in a lot of cases you can, by the time you've set up a mill to take one cut, you could have filed it off with a file.
So you're saying that with hand tools you do a lot of what people would do with machine tools.
That's correct.
It's just a matter of having the skill with the hand, and the file is going to remove the metal. So first thing you're going to do is rough off the metal with a very coarse file, and then you get most of the metal off there.
Get rid of the metal, because it's no good trying to make something and you've still got 1/8 of an inch to file off, and you're using some little smooth file like this. You're never going to get anywhere.
I'm seeing some hammers out here, and I know you're not a fan of ball peen hammers. Tell me why not.
No, because...
What do you call these hammers, Jack?
These are flat peen hammers.
Flat peen rather than ball peen. So this is the part that's flat.
This is the flat peen now.
Okay.
You see, because you can use this part of the hammer to what we call knock things up. And if you're trying to move metal and you can do it evenly, whereas with a ball peen hammer you have a little,
Sure.
you can have a round surface. With this, you can knock up, for instance, the bite on the back lump of a pair of shotgun barrels with this part. Not only that, you can draw things out, flat things out with this.
And we got 3 different sizes here. I'm saying this one's a 3 ounce, and I've got a number 0 here. What do you have?
That's a 1 pound. This is a 2 pound.
So, and that's a number 2, 2 pound. Okay,
That's
so we
right.
got a 3 ounce, a 1 pound, and a 2 pound.
That's right.
Flat peen.
That's about all you need. You don't need anything bigger.
Talk to me about pliers just for a moment. Mostly you got needle
pliers,
nose.
Yeah, it's just a motley selection of pliers, different kinds. I mean, some of them are no good. They're ruined. I only keep them for holding things which I've got to put in a gas flame because they're old and they're soft here, and it's just to hold things in a gas flame like a pin. You want to blow the head of a pin in a gas flame, and things like that, or even bending springs. You can use old, worn-out pliers like that, which have got no use virtually. Keep your good ones that's got some grip on them that's good for other things. Because you can take some springs like top lever springs in a gun you can take out with pliers.
Rather than needing a mainspring
That's
vise.
right. That's correct.
Okay. You got an interesting gauge on the end. Is that a length of pull gauge, Jack?
Yeah, it's called a length. We call it a length behind stick because it's
length behind. Okay.
the length behind the front trigger. You see, all the length of pull is measured from the front trigger to the middle of the stock at the butt end.
And that's an important thing, I think, a lot of folks don't know is how you measure the length of pull
That's right.
on a double barrel with 2 triggers.
That's
it's
right.
always to the front trigger,
That's right.
not
Also
to the back trigger.
There you measure a stock in 3 positions. You measure it length from the front trigger to the center,
Right?
length from the front trigger to the heel,
The
or
heel.
the bump.
The bump, yes.
Some people
The
call
top.
It. That's right. And the length from the front trigger to the toe.
Now, hacksaw, pretty common. You're cutting off pins and stuff with that?
Hacksaw. This is a slightly different hacksaw than you see in the US. It's not the kind
You
of
don't have the pistol grip on
pistol
it.
grips.
Ah,
Now, these are better than the pistol grip ones. What you can do is you can take the blade out, turn this part around here. It's on a square in there and a square in there. Turn this around and put the blade in so that it's and cut it downwards.
you
so
can turn the blade 90 degrees.
That's right.
Okay.
And you can cut round corners a bit, whereas you're limited with a pistol grip hacksaw.
What's the most common use of a hacksaw in repair doubles?
Well, I mean, again, if you've got to remove metal, I mean, you can saw something up quicker than you can put it in. Sometimes quicker than you can set it up in the machine.
Let me take you over to some other tools here. I've got this one here. It looks like something that
that's
you've
a
made up.
It's a disc key for a Purdy. That's a actual Purdy disc key to take the striker discs out.
Just to take the striker disc out. That's these 2 pins.
That's correct.
And the disc is that little round thing on the face of
that's right.
the standing
That's where
breech
striker
that
disc.
holds the firing pins in, or the
That's
strikers
right.
as you call them. And you've got several others over here.
Oh, those are quickly made up. They had to fit in a brace. I've got an old brace over it. They fit in a brace. That's to remove awkward ones that are in rather tight. You can put those in. Hold the gun in the vise. Get this in the holes and turn them. Whereas you can remove them with this. If you can't remove them with this, then you can remove them with one of these.
You get a lot more torque on with that. The brake.
If they don't come out with the brace, then you've got to destroy them and get them out.
Tell me what a man needs something like this
A hand
for.
vise?
A hand vise,
yeah,
yes.
You must have a hand vise. You're not a gunsmith unless you've got a hand vise. It's the most universal tool. You can use it to. You can hold something in between the jaws. You can use it as a tap wrench.
What's the difference between a hand vise and a pair of pliers?
Well, you can grip better with these things.
You can grip better. Okay.
I mean, you couldn't turn a drill with that. With this, you could hold a drill between the jaws and open the hole up by turning it by hand, or you can use it as a tap wrench as well. There's a lot of uses. You can hold it to clamp things.
You might clamp it in the vise after you
That's right. You can use it that way. You can clamp two pieces of metal together with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of uses for a hand vise. I understand they've dug up tool kits from ancient American gunsmiths long since gone, but they've never found a hand vise in the tool kit.
The hand vise is pretty much British.
Well, I assume so. I mean, but it's the most useful tool. You can't be without a hand vise.
So if I wanted to do, if I'm working on a pin or a screw and I need to slot it, this would just be a perfect thing to hold the screw.
That's right. You can also use it to make things smaller.
Let me get something over here that's pretty interesting. I don't think folks may know what this is.
The engineer's smoke lamp. Now, I pull the wick up. It's got kerosene or lamp oil inside it, and I like that to have a lamp ready all the while. And then in conjunction with a can, an old can,
that's all you need?
that needs lighting now. Now there's a can over there with a little piece of stick in it. Now what I do, I put a little drop of kerosene or lamp oil in there, just a little bit in the bottom of that can. And this stick, you can see it's kind of half burnt. That sits in there like that. Then this is lit on the bench, little flame going on there. Now when I want to do any smoke fitting, and the fitting's all done by smoke, I've got this in the skeleton. I take it out, touch the flame there, and this immediately lights up, and I've got a big flame, and I've got a lot of smoke in a hurry.
Jack, are there any other tools here that we need to talk about, or we're ready to get some work done?
There's a little square punch over there. No, this way, by the hand vise, this way. There you go. That is a punch for knocking up fore ends. Now, the official way, the proper way, and the official way of tightening a loose fore end is by punching the metal up at the back of the slot in the fore end.
On the underside?
On the underside.
Right.
And that's what that's for. So that's a valuable tool. It doesn't take much to make one. It's got a kind of a rounded end.
So you take the wood off the fore end.
That's right.
You simply
put that behind the slot, a little way behind the slot.
With our flat peen
That's
hammer.
Right.
And you whack it.
Holding your fore end metal on the top of the lead jaws, so it won't. And you're doing that on the underside, so it won't mark the. If you held it on a hard piece of metal, like a piece of steel, you'd probably get some marks on the other side.
So we're going to upset the metal just enough to make the fore end tight.
That's right. You're pushing the metal forward at the back of the slot, and that's the real way to do it. Unless the fore end is so loose that you can't punch it up enough, then you've got to resort to getting some weld put in at the back of the slot, or dovetailing the piece in and bracing it in.
Well, Jack, I think this is a pretty good presentation on tools. Let's see if we can't get a project started.